You're listening to the Known Legacy Podcast, brought to you by Known Legacy Ministries. For more information, go to knownlegacy.org. Now here's your hosts, Bill and Travis.
Timing was bad on that one. Timing was bad.
Oh, good morning. Good July. I was going to say, what's today's date? July
6th, 5th,
July-ish.
6th.
Good July-ish.
Yeah. How was your 4th of July, Bill?
It was good. It was, we just kind of hung out. It's hot up here right now. It's hot. And so we even sat in the pool, and I was like, oh, let me go from the hot to the bathtub. It was like so hot. I'm like, what the heck? What are we making tea in this thing? It was exhausting.
Yeah.
So, but either way, it was good. We got to hang out. I do have we have a special guest on there, but we do have another special guest today.
Yes.
That I would like to introduce, and this is, I'm going to move the camera. Is that okay, Kyle?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Is my brother, Chris. I love his shirt. Welcome to the podcast, Chris. We're so glad to have you here. I love that shirt. It says "World's Okayest Brother." I think that makes the. Chris,
did you get that for him?
I didn't. He actually definitely picked it himself. I would have said "World's Best Brother." So, anyways, but no, we're so glad to have you here. Thanks for being on the podcast. So he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have a microphone. So
ask him
shut up and sit there.
He has two turntables, but no microphone.
2 turntables and no microphone. Where it's.
Hey, that brings up a great question.
It does bring up a good question.
Well done, Kyle, with the transition. So the question today is summer song. Like, if there's a song that just encapsulates for you summer, what would it be?
I'm going to go super spiritual. Satellite by Dave Matthews.
Satellite.
That intro, like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so. And I used to have a Jeep before my son decided to flip it. And
Yeah.
other than that, so I'd have the top off and I would just listen to that song and I would blast it. And it was like the best. And I don't know if new Dave doesn't get me, but old Dave, I was feeling it, man.
Yeah.
It brings it back to like high school.
That album was a great album.
It was a great album.
Yeah.
Was it Under the Table and Dreaming? I think it was.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. What about you?
I'm going to go old school as well. And it's one that we get every February when we're rolling into, every fall when we're rolling into LaGrange. But it's LaGrange by ZZ Top, man. I will throw that song on.
Yeah.
And again, my kids, like towards the end of school year, I'll roll into, thank you.
There it is.
Thank you. That's what I'm talking about.
He didn't have mine. Thanks a lot.
I mean, nothing says summer like a very off-color song about a...
Yes, we understand. We get it. This is a family show, Travis.
But I'll roll in to pick them up from school, windows all down. It turned up to like 40 on the old, and my kids just start rolling their eyes.
Oh, man.
So,
See, Dave likes, my son likes Dave, so I'm great. He loves Satellite. So,
Kyle, what about you?
Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama.
How can you say that and not sing that?
I know, it's really hard. I actually paused there. I was like, Sweet Home. Like, I just couldn't even do it. So why do you like that song? What's your reasoning as to why?
Well, same thing. You roll down the windows, you take the top off, and just crank it up. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. Sweet Home Alabama. I also like the Kid Rock mashup with that and Warren Zevon. Werewolves of London. Have you heard that?
I don't know. I'm
No.
trying to remember that one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, we need to listen to that one.
Yeah.
That's good. I also do like, I'm a little bit, because of our guest today, I do actually have another one I like when I was younger. I'm going to throw a little props at him. I'm going to throw some props at him.
Is she right
It's
now?
definitely brown nose. But U2, so they did this In the Name of Love album, and Beautiful Day
Joshua.
Yeah.
was redone by Sanctus Real, and it really is a baller song. And so if only the vocals were better. I don't think you can hear me. I just do some shade at him. Anyways, and speaking of that, let's introduce our guest before he clicks the X again and walks away. Matt Hammitt is back on the podcast with us.
Hello,
We're
Matt.
so glad to have you here. Thanks for being here, man.
Satellite.
It's a great song. Matt, what's your song? What's your song of choice?
It'd have to be like Monkey Wrench by Foo Fighters, man. Dude,
You threw out a great one.
that one. Windows down with that song rolling. Good one.
So
And then my
good.
kids but now my kids have hijacked every speaker in my house, so it's like 24 karat magic or whatever it's called, Bruno Mars now. So I just go with it.
Just roll with it at this
You got
point.
to. You got to.
You're like, I'm going to get this back. Even though I pay the mortgage, someday I'm going to get back these stereos.
I'll get the speakers back in about 10 years or so. Maybe.
Exactly. It's like, oh my gosh, and everything's a TikTok dance. And so I don't even know where things come from anymore. Back in the day,
man, I
so
know.
it's the worst. It's the worst.
Funny.
Well, yeah. Well, dude, we wanted to have you back on. It's so great to have you on, and man, we know you've been doing a lot. You know, it's funny. Like we've had you on a few years ago, and that was awesome. And then we had a conversation a few months ago that I was like, I got to get you back on because you had talked about what you're doing with a new organization called Save the Storks, in which we can put a link in for that. But it was what you were specifically doing that really touched my heart. With your share a little bit about what's been going on in your journey, man.
Yeah, so when I left Sanctus Real 2016, I just kind of opened up my hands and was like, Lord, whatever you have for me, I'll do it. And so I've been trying to just be faithful to create the margin in my life to be able to say yes to those things. And I'm still releasing music to the fan base that still pays attention. People who most of the people who are into Sanctus Real or who kind of have follow what I'm doing now, which is great, but the stuff that other things I'm doing really brings so much deeper meaning to my creative ventures. And the thing this year that we launched just around Father's Day that was a really exciting project to work on. Starting last year, I started writing this book, just a little booklet, and it was hard because I had to take a lot of big thoughts, big ideas, big truth, and kind of try to squeeze it down into as 7 fundamental short pieces for men. And this is a book called Dare to Be a Dad. And it was funded by Save the Storks, which is a pro-life national organization that actually creates partner programs to elevate local pregnancy resource centers. They were kind of known for their more mobile stork buses, they called them, that were like mobile ultrasound and health clinics. And they still make those. They got almost 100 on the road now.
Wow.
That partner with local centers. But even beyond that, they do all this amazing work to partner with centers to elevate their branding, relogo, funding for renovating their centers, SEO, websites. It's like everything they could do to elevate these centers locally. And then this program they funded to specifically be a resource for the men who walk through the door because we saw a gap there. And not only, did we write the book, but then they also funded a video series that we did. And Kingdom Story, who makes Jesus Revolution and Imagine and American Underdog, they actually donated their sound studio here in Nashville for us to do a video series, 7-part series to go along with the book. So the coolest part about it is that Save the Storks funded it and then made it freely available not only to all their partners on their website, but anybody who wants to go through it.
That's awesome. So tell me, okay, because you said you started writing it to the heart of dads, if I'm correct, dads of those whose girlfriends or fiancés where we're walking towards getting terminating a pregnancy, but it kind of turned from there to just dads, correct?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Even though the initial thought behind it and idea behind it was to reach dads who are in an unplanned or difficult pregnancy situation. It was started really pointed at them to try to help them through it and believe that they can step up and have a voice and know how to just rise up and be a father and be a support in that situation, right? Because the cultural narrative, but it's crazy because all the studies show now, and there's more and more studies coming out that show that when women are in this situation, now there are of course some abusive men in these situations where women might not want the father involved, or maybe he shouldn't be involved. But for the most part, we're seeing that the number one voice that influences a woman in this situation when she's trying to decide whether or not she's going to choose life for her baby is not her doctor, not her family, not her friends. It is the father they want to hear from. But then the cultural narrative is that the father has no voice and no choice. So we're flipping this narrative, to say, hey, you have a voice, you have a choice, it matters. And how do we get to the root of some of these maybe immaturities that all men face, especially when they're young. But then what's funny is, we realized that as we address these issues in manhood, we were like, you know what? This actually speaks to all of us in a lot of different ways. So even though there was some language pointed towards those guys kind of in the intro, I realized it unfolded to be a really awesome resource for men in general, and especially discipling young men. And then I think there's stuff in it, as we hear in the video series. I had a guy named Al Andrews who started a ministry called Porter's Call. And this guy basically over the years has been a mentor and a counselor to every musician you could imagine in the Christian country, and a lot of the pop people as well, that he's a trusted counselor to them. He's kind of this wise old sage, right? And him and all these different guys we invited into this video series. And then I was like, man, I started this series, and here I am listening to these guys going, wow, I'm benefiting from this.
Yes.
So, so I'd encourage anybody out there, especially if you know a young dad in a situation who's about to be a father, or a young dad facing a unplanned pregnancy situation. But then even any men in general, man, I think we can point them to this and say, you'll be encouraged by this video series especially.
I think it's fantastic, and I love how it's a passive engagement. They can go watch the videos on their own, or they can read the book on their own. And I think that's, when you talk about our culture and kind of where we are culturally, I am more and more convinced that the deterioration that we've seen in the family since the 60s and even into the 50s on has been intentional by the evil one. He wants to destroy the families, and he wants to take the dads out of that primary role. And I read an article recently that talked about the fascinating statistics, particularly of people incarcerated, and the likelihood of incarceration for individuals that grow up without a father is 70% higher. So 70% of the people in prison grow up without a father.
Yeah.
And the interesting one is the statistic that if you grow up in a dual parent, mom and dad, or a dad only, you have the same likelihood of being in prison. It's when the dad is absent that number actually skyrockets. And I just think that's absolutely fascinating. And I appreciate you being willing to listen to the call of God to write to a demographic that's not known for reading, particularly not known for reading self-help. I mean, if it's leadership or how to make more money, they're all in.
Correct.
But to just be a better dad, it's so neat. So, gentlemen, I don't know. If you're like many guys, you're going to read the book maybe that your wife gives you to read, but be proactive on this one. Reach out and find out, because the influence we have not just on our kids, but the other kids, whether we're a coach in Little League or we're on the soccer team or whatever, is innumerable.
Yeah.
It is just it is amazing. And so really encourage you guys to check out the videos, check out the book, read it, get involved, and just let God speak to your heart and encourage you in the unique calling that he's given you as dad.
Yeah. What do you see as like one of the biggest roadblocks or hurdles for these dads? Like, you kind of come along when you see these guys, like, what is one of the biggest issues that you have with these guys? Is it, and we were talking about the fathers thing, but is there anything else that comes along that we could be proactive to, or that these guys need to look out for? Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're saying, like, what are the biggest hurdles that men are facing in these situations?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You said
well,
it better than I did. So,
well, I think all of the issues from all the different studies we kind of looked at as we were putting this together pointed back to the place where men feel most insecure when they feel like they have no voice as a father is when they struggle to provide for their child financially. Which was really interesting. And so what's crazy is that it seemed that the shame around feeling insufficient to provide was one of the biggest shame factors that drove them away, right, from stepping up or having their head down on the sidelines. And so I think, one of the biggest subjects for us, through all 7 subjects that we went through, one of the biggest things for us was to just get down to the issues of the heart and who you are as a person and being present, right? That presence is the greatest gift that you can possibly give, saying, I don't have it all right. I'm still growing, but I'm willing to grow with you in this process. Helping guys believe that they can step up regardless of their circumstances around them and actually just be a great father by being present and giving love. I think helping men believe that actually is powerful beyond, I mean, what the shame that they feel, I think sounds very elementary, sounds very simple, but I think it's something that actually every guy needs to keep hearing over and over.
Man, I know that when we had a conversation, you talked about, and we kind of talked about one of the biggest battles with men is pornography, and now that it's just so available. And I know on that video, you had mentioned that there was a former porn star. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I know a lot of guys struggle with that, and so this isn't just it's not just don't end the pregnancy. It's a heart deep in the heart of healing men. Right. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we actually brought in, we knew that worldview on sexuality is something that's completely broken in our culture.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to bring in somebody not only who understood the pornography industry, but somebody who also had an incredible transformed biblical worldview on sexuality. And so we brought in Joshua Broome, who was actually the #1 male adult film star just like 6 or 7 years ago, and was going to kill himself. And he tells his story, in the Dare to Be a Dad video series. But he was going to kill himself. He went to cash his last check because he wanted to leave his mom the money. And he hadn't heard his real name in, he said, it was years. And the woman at the bank happened to know him, and she just said, "Joshua, are you okay?" And hearing his name for the first time, his real name in years, just like spoke so deeply to his heart and crushed him in the best way possible. And so he actually ended up meeting his now wife, and she led him to the Lord. And now he's a pastor, and he is preaching God's word. He's an evangelist, and he still gives his testimony as a part of what he does, but he's also just out there preaching the word. And so, but we brought him to talk about the issues of pornography, the emptiness of pornography, how it destroys families, how it's actually destroying the lives of the people who are even performing, the amount of friends he's had in the industry commit suicide over the past few years, the amount of women who are trapped in it, the amount of sex trafficking. I mean, to hear firsthand what's really happening behind the scenes, the chances that when you're, engaging with a screen, that you're actually getting excited to potentially someone who's being sex trafficked against their will and drugged up. And, it's like, dude, when you get the reality of what's really happening, now obviously there's some performers who they're out making a bunch of money and they've chosen that lifestyle, but that's not actually a lot of times not the case. It's like there's that huge industry, man, and he just kind of pulls the cover off of people who obviously have chosen to be in it and what their lives are really like, and then all the people who haven't chosen to be in it who are forced into it.
There's that new movie out called Freedom, I think.
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, I want to check that out.
And I think that's one of those, one of those pivotal movies within our culture that pulls back the curtain and kind of gives us a really good narrative of like, this is the reality of what's going on. So it's not like it doesn't hurt someone. Someone's out there buying these kids. Someone's out there paying the money.
Yeah,
and
it's
bringing
the consumer
destruction.
base, man.
Yes.
Hey, you guys, it's here. You want to hear a crazy story? I'll tell you something kind of crazy. I don't even know if I'm really supposed to say this on here or not, but I will. So if I end up dead tomorrow,
go for it.
Tell my wife that the Clintons killed me. But basically, my buddy Paul Cardall, who he was on the board of Tim Ballard's as Operation Underground, I think that Sound of Freedom was made about.
Yeah.
So
Tim Ballard's
the main character that Caviezel plays, and my buddy Paul was actually on the board of that when they were making the film. He was on set and everything, and I'm actually going to see him tonight. And so he was telling me that he was down in Mexico while they were running operations to retrieve some of these kids, and there was a guy who was a former drug cartel operative who had left the drug cartel industry to then God changed his heart and he moved into the anti-sex trafficking to help Tim. And he was telling my buddy that they would go to Haiti after disasters with ships, take these kids, ship these kids off, tell them that they were going to give them homes, but then they'd ship them off to an island where Jeffrey Epstein could have his pick.
No.
And everybody in the operation knew who was paying for it, and it was the people that I said might kill me if I tell you about this. So anyway,
wow.
Which they don't care that I'm saying this is everywhere, I'm sure, but I'm joking, but it's not
I know
funny,
you are,
right?
but
it's
no, I see.
You have these massive foundations run by political world leaders who are actually paying to traffic kids because that's just how lucrative it is. So it's like the only way I think to stop this or to get to the bottom of this, it has to be cutting it off at the consumer level where people aren't paying for it any longer.
And I think the thing that I want to address is how hopeless people are that they're finding. They're trying to seek it out in this way. And I'm like, if this is the revolution we talk about, that's why we do this podcast, is because we just want men to come alive. I believe, just like you said, I heard another statistic, 93% now. It's up to 93% that if a man leads his family will go to church. 93% now.
Wow.
So you're not talking about, I mean, that statistic just got updated. It used to be like 75%.
Right.
But that is what we're talking about, is these men that are hopeless and bored, and they're not coming alive.
So they're looking for an imitation adventure.
A false adventure. Yes.
False adventure.
And so guys, like that's what I'm saying. Read this, because it's not a matter of just stop it. It's like, no, stop looking there. It's like butterflies crawling in the mud. Like, we're made for so much more. And so moments like these are stepping stones for us to say time out. I mean, this is a free resource that guys can go and say, listen, like if you're silently struggling with porn, I challenge you to go and watch this. If you're struggling with anything, go and watch it, because you don't have to blast it out right now, but just have the conversation of seeing what you're actually doing in your life and make the steps, because you're made for more. That's why Matt does this stuff.
Right.
He doesn't do it just so he I knowing his heart, it's not just let's do the next thing. Like, this is a free resource for people. And guys, we are made for so much more. So the challenge, I think, from this whole thing that I'm taking is stop just trying to not sin and come alive to that calling. And I think this study is one of those studies that will help you launch to who you want to become.
Right.
And so that's why I wanted to get him on, because Matt, you've shared, and now we want to try and wrap it up for you too, but we shared, you just wrote a new song about church hurt too. I know we're kind of taking a direction, but I mean, even in that, if you've been hurt by the church, I would challenge you to get into this and read, and don't just, I don't know, I guess I just get so frustrated when I see that the hearts of men, this all starts with the heart of a guy who one day opens up a laptop and starts scrolling and searching freely, and then goes into this dark tunnel. That's just one of the many. But like, come alive to that calling and understand that. So I appreciate you sharing all this. And so, I just think that stuff hits my heart. Travis says that.
Well, I think, I want to make sure people know too, they can go watch this for free at SaveTheStorks.com. So if you actually go to SaveTheStorks.com, you can click up on the upper, I think it's still there, upper left-hand corner. There's a huge banner that says Dare to be a Dad. You can literally click on it, and you go down and you can scroll left and right through all the videos. And if guys specifically wanted to skip around, and I mean, I think all of them are valuable, but man, especially the Joshua Broom interview on sexuality, man, I think it's episode 6, 5 or 6. Sorry, gosh, I've been doing so much material.
Exactly.
You'll find it on there. But you'll see the video with Joshua, and I would really encourage people to watch.
Well, and I'm going to throw out a little challenge. I know that we in the church have taken some bold stands on the LGBTQ stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I think there is a warning, I would say, that it's you better take care of the plank in your own eye. And if I mean, statistics are that everyone is being affected and touched by pornography.
Pretty much.
And it's easy to point your finger at the things that are out and about and are being promoted within the culture, but don't play the game. If you got that sin issue, you've got that sin struggle, today, take care of it with the cross of Jesus Christ. Yeah. Receive that forgiveness of sins, and then realize that you can walk in that journey of freedom and you don't have to be beholden to that anymore.
And we will put the link. We will have the link provided in our session notes for this. So we'll have a link for Save the Storks, and if I can find the link for that one video, I'll put that link in there as well.
That sounds great.
But they will be, at least Save the Storks will be in there. And so, now Matt, this has been good, and I just love that you're continuing to pursue the hearts of men.
I feel like we need to have him on again and talk about being hurt by the church, because I think that's another thing that's really big within our culture today.
I love that, man.
So because I feel like these are two. I was going to try and do them all at the same time. I'm like, forget it. This is too deep. This is too good. So So we'll have you back on if you're willing to come back on. We'd love to have you on. And
great.
And so So I know that Did you want to have any last thoughts about that before we move into our next session?
Man, no. I would say to you guys out there, man. Like, it is the voices, and you'll see Al Andrews, my friend, address this in the first session of Dare to Be a Dad, but I think we all just hear so many voices. All men face shame. It's just kind of in us of trying to provide and all, spiritually, financially, emotionally for our families, and it's so much burden sometimes that we feel like, do we have what it takes to really do this? And I think very simply, I hope that this resource helps guys just really believe and see that through just being present and showing up and being willing to grow and being willing to change and just being in the game, that they absolutely have what it takes inside of them to be the dad and the man they're called to be.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Love it.
Dude, we love it. We love it. So we will have you on again, because I want to talk about the church, and I love that song, and so I was like, I wanted to kind of really go into that detail, but we will do that another time, because I think that is the point today. Like, get into this. Go do this study. Take the time. Guys, it's a video, and it's worth it. It's going to make you a better man, a better husband, better follower of Jesus.
Love it.
And so, great. But, like always, we have another little session here called our Fast Five. And thank you. My brother brought, he has his phone right here, because I have some questions for you, Matt. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. What is the most interesting place that you have been, or where is the most interesting place you've been?
Man, I love Vienna, Austria.
Oh, Austria. Well, good day, mate.
Different.
Different Austria.
Different Austria. Nice. Okay, Austria. That sounds beautiful.
And the Christmas market, especially.
Ooh, very nice. What? So Vienna. Okay. So right in that area. So what's so special about the Christmas market?
Man, well, the whole city at night is like, the architecture, the way it's lit up is unbelievable. And you go to the way the Christmas market there with all the lights and like just the way they set it up, man, it's like this magical, straight out of a movie.
Dang,
awesome!
It's like a Hallmark movie.
Yes,
like Hallmark for every day.
Yeah,
nice, awesome. If you could have one haircut for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The one I got right now.
Nice, because you got the hair. That's it.
He does.
That's it. Well, it's pretty ballin', I'll be honest with you. I'm a little bit jealous.
Just a normal haircut, man.
One that I don't have to think about much. I get it. All right, favorite thing to do with your family?
Oh, we love to take little road trips together.
Nice.
So actually, 2016, I wrote about it in my book, Lead Me. We took an RV out for a year, and that was one of the funnest seasons of our lives. And so we can't, do that again because we sold the RV, but we love to travel together.
That's awesome.
Speaking of that, props to that book. I actually listened to that book, and Matt read that book. So it's actually him reading the book, which I love. And so great book if you get a chance to check that out. If you're just listening to audiobooks, it's a great book to check out. So
awesome.
All right, favorite childhood memory?
I would have to say the Christmas when I wanted a guitar.
Ooh.
And then we got finished with all the presents and no guitar, and my parents pulled the classic, like, wait a minute, I think there's something behind the couch. Then you're like moving from tears of sadness to tears of joy as you pull the electric guitar out, So that was one of my favorite memories.
It was right before that he looked at his mom and he said, "Mom, I'm not all right." Sorry. Anyways, I had to throw one line in there at least. Prophetic words. Exactly. Oh, my gosh. Okay, and one thing on your bucket list you want to accomplish before you die?
Yeah, that was a hard one, man. I know it's a fast five, but it was like I had so many thoughts on that. I think I'd like to travel and with my wife a little more internationally.
Nice.
She was always afraid of traveling with with me like overseas because she gets nervous on flights and stuff.
Okay.
But I think once maybe we raise the kids, I
Yeah.
hope that we can do a little European travel together.
That'd be
That's
awesome.
That is awesome, dude. Yeah, those are great. I want to take my wife back to Europe. Actually, I want to take her to Europe. So
There you go.
Get there,
Maybe I
but
can
no.
get her to that. Maybe I can get her to that Christmas market in Vienna.
that would be awesome.
And just
It's
bring a few $100 for all the little trinkets she's going to
exactly
buy.
everything she wants. So
Exactly.
To remember that moment, man.
remember that
Suddenly
moment.
I'm regretting it. Just kidding.
Exactly. What is going on? You guys don't take credit card here? Okay, good. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for being on
Yeah,
today.
man.
And this was awesome, and so I'm excited, guys. Check out Save the Storks. Check out those videos. It is worth it. And then we'll have Matt on to talk more about church hurt because I know that's another topic we want to get him on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. Any last words or thoughts from you, brother?
No, man, I'm just grateful to be here and look forward to the next time that we get a chance to talk.
Awesome,
it.
and you can check out his music. Just look up Matt Hammitt with 2 T's on. Actually, by the time you get to Matt HAM, usually he pops up. So
Yeah.
just get him up there. Spotify, he's on all the places. So check out his music and support him. Matt, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, as always, check us out online, info@knownlegacy.org if you have questions or comments. And, if you want to make a donation, we'd love that too.
Yes.
And as always, Instagram and Facebook. I know you've been putting out some good Facebook reels lately, so
Thank
good job,
you.
Bill.
Yeah, we've been having fun with that.
And,
So
thank you guys for checking us out. God bless y'all.
have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Known Legacy Podcast. We'd love to hear from you, so email us your questions or comments to info@knownlegacy.org.